Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar returns after attending 3rd SLAC Summit in Cuba. San Fernando Teaching Hospital gets a surprise visit from Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar. And the Transport Minister talks of a modernized public transport system. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Top of the news this hour. Officials of the Southwest Regional Health Authority came in for praise today as Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar paid a surprise visit to the recently opened San Fernando Teaching Hospital. The 18-floor hospital was opened on January 9th this year and is now ready to accept patients. Addressing media personnel, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar is quoted as saying, "I am pleased that some relief will come the way of the patients. We have been hearing that patients have been in distress at the San Fernando General Hospital when they go there. This hospital could not have come at a better time, and the people of San Fernando and other areas can feel assured that they will get their treatment in a timely manner," end quote. She adds it will greatly ease the woes of persons seeking health care in San Fernando and environs. The hospital is expected to commence its outpatient services this Thursday. According to the SWRHA, all the clinics and support services have already relocated the startup supplies required to get each clinic up and running. SWRHA is advising outpatients of the San Fernando General Hospital to come for their clinic appointment at the San Fernando Teaching Hospital. The SWRHA will be providing a shuttle service from the San Fernando General Hospital Outpatients Department to the drop-off point at the San Fernando Teaching Hospital from February 6th, commencing at 8 a.m. Accompanying the Prime Minister on the tour with Dr. Lakram Bodo, Chairman of the SWRHA, and Minister Anil Gosain, CEO of the SWRHA. Meanwhile, Trinidad and Tobago has entered a bid to host the Secretariat of the UN Arms Trade Treaty at a recently concluded Community of Latin American and Caribbean Summit. This was among the many milestone achievements that the Prime Minister contributed to while attending the SLAC Summit.
Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar believes the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States' 3rd Summit was a resounding success. On Saturday, the Honorable Prime Minister returned to Trinidad and Tobago following her 5-day visit to Havana, Cuba, where she attended the summit alongside several regional leaders.
This year at SLAC, we engaged in discussions surrounding central issues such as poverty, illiteracy, and inequality, amongst other critical areas. There were numerous proposals brought to the forefront, all with the common goal of advancing our nations through regional cooperation. Some of the major declarations that received full support from member states included the Havana Declaration and the proclamation of our region as a zone of peace.
The Honorable Prime Minister said the Declaration of Havana highlights the importance of the region as a space that facilitates dialogue while fostering regional cooperation.
This declaration also emphasizes the urgency of working together as a team to develop and improve the well-being of our people in every possible way. With the clearly outlined strategies elaborated in this declaration, we are most confident that our continued collaboration as leaders will produce beneficial results for the progress of our region.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said that the proclamation of the region as a zone of peace was another comforting measure agreed upon by the region's leaders. She noted the agreement seeks to ensure that conflicts which may arise are managed in a peaceful and civilized manner without encroaching on the sovereignty of any member state. A decision was also taken to work towards complete nuclear disarmament in the region. As the Prime Minister said, she was deeply satisfied with the conclusion of the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty and the draft Special Declaration on the illicit trafficking of small arms and light weapons in all its aspects in Latin America and the Caribbean, which represents a significant milestone in the control of arms and arms transfers. However, the high point for Trinidad and Tobago at the SLAC was this country's bid to host the Secretariat of the UN Arms Trade Treaty.
We have made a formal bid to host the Secretariat, as it will serve the interests of all to have the Secretariat located in our region. We will ensure the effective implementation of the Arms Trade Treaty as we have the necessary resources to sustain the Secretariat here in Trinidad and Tobago. And so we believe that given geographic space, that all the major institutions of the UN should not be located in the same geographic locations, but that we should have something within our own region here in the SLAC and Trinidad and Tobago. As I said, we have made a formal bid, in fact, to the UN for that Secretariat to be here.
Trinidad and Tobago took part in several other relevant discussions at the SLAC and contributed to a number of draft proposals as it continues to pledge its commitment to the collective growth of the community of Latin American and Caribbean states. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Thank you, Nikolai. More news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Government has spent millions on the unemployment relief program since June 2012 to date. This according to Dr. the Honorable Glenn Ramadar Singh, Minister of the People and Social Development. The minister was at the time responding to a question on the order paper in the House of Representatives.
One program was listed at over $1.6 million, while others were listed to the tune of $499,000 and $487,000. Each directly spent on the Unemployment Relief Program social initiatives since the year 2012. This revelation was made in the House of Representatives by Dr. the Honorable Glenn Ramadar Singh, Minister of the People and Social Development, in response to a question asked by Opposition Member of Parliament for Aruca Maloney, Alicia Hospitales. Hospitales asked for a breakdown of the cost for implementing projects under the URP since June 2012. Minister Ramadar Singh explained the government had taken a decision to divide the program into 3 parts to ensure accountability and effective service.
The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago decided to make the URP program more relevant and productive to the society and free from the stigma of teams that could not have been accounted for, low productivity, corruption, and violence. The Prime Minister took a decision to restructure the URP into URP Agriculture, URP Social, and URP Infrastructure. The Ministry of the People and Social Development was then responsible for the URP Social. Since August 2011, the Ministry has been consulting with the vulnerable in society to determine the best ways to serve them through this innovative opportunity called the URP Social. A strategic plan was developed by the Ministry to be used for the period 2012 to 2014.
Minister Ramadar Singh listed some of the projects implemented thus far.
A number of projects have been designed and started since the launch of URP Social in August 2011. Initially, 8 social programs were designed, developed, and implemented. The first is the Ray of Hope. This program seeks to bring relief to the vulnerable whose homes and surroundings are in poor conditions. Unemployed persons from the recipient communities undertake these repairs. The Positive Transformation, catering for persons between the ages of 16 and 35 who were once involved in deviant behavior and have decided to transform their lives. Of particular note is a team from Diego Martin that was very active in the recent floods and were able to save and assist a lot of the elderly in that society, in that part of the country. The Disability Support Program. This project seeks to train persons from vulnerable families. The persons are trained in caring for the disabled persons. And after their training is completed, they are employed to care for disabled persons in their own communities.
Other programs include Project Runway, which ensures ramps are built in public buildings to accommodate the differently able, the Make a Smile program for persons affected by fires and floods, and support of Vision on Mission, which rehabilitates former prisoners. But Minister Ramadar Singh said one of the most remarkable initiatives undertaken by the URP is the Cerebral Palsy Caregivers Program.
What is most striking about the URP Social is not the developmental projects, but the cerebral palsy mothers who never had an income before under any other government are able now to be part of the Cerebral Palsy Caregivers Program, where the mother is employed to care and take care of her own child who needs 24/7 care and protection. This has allowed mothers to become trainers and others to become trainers of trainers and supervisors of trainers, and has allowed them to increase the amount of income that they earn.
Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
Transport Minister Stephen Cadiz is promising to modernize the current public transport system into a more efficient, citizen-friendly one. He was speaking during the launch of the Sikorsky S-76D helicopter at the National Helicopter Services Limited.
Moves to make modes of transport more connective while promoting the ease of commuting for citizens will take a new direction under Transport Minister Stephen Cadiz. The minister unveiled plans that he says are being looked into as to how current modes of public transportation provided can be made more efficient through the implementation of new policies.
How do we develop a public transport system that can alleviate that you don't have to do that? And we're in the middle now of that planning of getting a proper transit policy established. And that transit policy is going to mean when you get off of a bus, for instance, in Port of Spain, how do you get from Port of Spain to St. Anne's? How do you get from Port of Spain to Diego Martin? How do you get from Port of Spain, or if you're going the other way, how do you go from Port of Spain to Arima? And when you reach Arima, how do you go into Sangre Grande, etc.? And it's about all of that connectivity is what we're working on now, to get Trinidad and Tobago connected. You fly from Crown Point, you come into Piarco, how do I get into Port of Spain? You know, these are the things that are going to make life very simple for our citizens and to create that connectivity.
One of the areas to be looked at in making transport easier is the use of cheaper fuels. He adds that these plans will be inclusive of park and ride facilities aimed at utilizing the water taxis to its fullest potential.
If you don't have the connectivity to the water taxi, you're not going to use the water taxi. If you have to park your car somewhere and then you have to find your way and you're not too sure if it's raining or whatever, you're not going to use the water taxi. The water taxi was designed, the design capacity was upwards of 4,500 passengers per day, maxing out about 9,000 passengers a day. Right now we run 1,500. Totally underutilized for huge capital investment. So we're now looking at Point Fortin, the Point Fortin to San Fernando run. We're looking at the Waterloo, right in the back here, going into Port of Spain. We are looking at changing up the schedules. We're looking at park and ride facilities to be able to operate with the water taxis properly.
Meanwhile, he says the feasibility of the relocation of several ports will be looked into in the coming weeks.
What are we doing with the Port of Spain? Is the Port of Spain staying or moving? All right, that is a decision that is going to be made within the next couple of weeks as to whether or not we're moving the Port of Spain from its current location, possibly into sea lots. And then I was here earlier on this week where we did the official opening, official ceremony of bringing into service a brand new crane down here on the Port of Point Lisas. What happens in the Port of Point Lisas now? How are we going to expand the berths in Port of Point Lisas? All of these are things that are happening to make Trinidad and Tobago state-of-the-art 21st century.
The minister adds that development of the Camden area into an aerodrome as well as a drag racing circuit are on the cards.
Camden, this entire area here, is going to be deemed an aviation facility, an aviation park. So you're smack bang where you're supposed to be. I don't think you could hit it any better than that. In addition to that, we are tying in the Camden aerodrome with an autodrome. Trinidad and Tobago, as we know, has lacked a proper racing facility. On a good day in Wallerfield, long time Wallerfield, 20 to 25,000 people would go to see the day's racing. And that, of course, disappeared. That's no longer the case. And we're going to be building in Camden here, right off the highway, so the location is going to be excellent. A brand spanking new autodrome, which would have circuit racing and also the quarter-mile track racing.
Kimberam Calawan, News 4.
Sport news is next. Stay with us. Welcome back to some sports news now. Guaya United and Club Sando made all the early running in the Blink B-Mobile National Super League. But although they are still in the race for the title, Malabar FC has grabbed a hold of post position. Or have they? Well, News for Sports, Wayne Cunningham has the rundown of the weekend scores.
Defending Super League champions Wassa FC pulled off the upset of the season in midweek, but were hammered by superior Spurs on the weekend, which left them hovering in the relegation zone. The Southerners got a double from Shaquille Henry, plus one apiece from Chavon Frederick and Len Mejias, as well as an own goal for a 5-1 win in St. Joseph. Veteran Gary Glasgow got the lone item for Wassa. Also with worries of relegation is FC Santa Rosa, who sits at the foot of the table. The men of Santa Rosa held their cause with a 4-1 drubbing of fellow Easterners Joe Public FC. Javon Vance scored a brace, which was complemented by late goals from Jordan Devonish and Devon King. Kevin Caprieta got a late consolation for the Eastern Lions. Another Eastern club, Real Maracas, is faring much better. They are now in 5th spot on the standings, following a 3-0 win over Northerners Westside Superstars. Dylan Bartholomew, Aaron Peters and Hayden Vincent getting the goals for the squad coached by Roger Henry. Just above them sits Guaya United, who managed to pip Tobago outfit 1976 FC Phoenix 3-2. Leandro Williams opened the scoring in the 4th minute for his father's team, and Andel Brown got one late, but Guaya's Keelan Mitchell, Ryan Stewart and Kevin Jagdeo Singh secured the win to put the Eastern County squad back in the title race. They will have to catch Malabar FC, who hold top spot on goal difference, which was enhanced with a 4-1 victory over another club from the sister isle, Stokely Vale FC. They got goals from Jesse Martinez, Cordell Samuel, Kevon Woodley and Kevon Cornwall, with Christian Joseph scoring for Stokely Vale. The race seems to be going down to the wire, but it's clearly between Malabar, Sando and Guaya. Unfortunately for Malabar, they got some tough news late on Monday when they lost a match in the protest room for playing an unregistered player versus Club Sando, who benefited from 3 points and 3 goals to now top the standings. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Thank you, Wayne Cunningham. More news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Relief to fishermen in the village of Matlot is finally here as its net repair facility was officially handed over earlier this week. Chairman of the National Commission for Self-Help, Surajdev Mungru, says the intervention by his company was aimed at providing self-sustenance to villagers in the area.
Fishing villages located along the north coast have been the victim of battering waves and bad weather for years. And as a result, vessels and nets belonging to the fishermen in the area have suffered damages. However, changes are coming as a collaboration between the Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development and the National Self-Help Commission has yielded in the development of proper facilities that would aid fishermen in plying their trade. Project 50 has been charged with the development of geographic spaces through the growth poles and the Economic Diversification Trust, with one of its aims focused on enhancing the nation's food sustainability. Dr. Ricky Perminan, Executive Director of the Economic Development Board, explains how this project fits into the wider picture of national development through the building up of fishing communities across the country.
What we're doing in terms of the Economic Development Board here with Matlock is one of a larger program which is called Project 50. And Project 50 is based on the North Coast, looking at 5 fishing communities: Maracas, Las Cuevas, Blanchisseres, Matlock and Toco. And what we're trying to do there is really to build the fishing community. And in order to build a fishing community, we have to spend some effort in terms of giving them the tools for development, and those tools for development are obviously the facilities that they have. In Matlock and Toco, more specifically, the extents of which we have to redevelop or refurbish the facilities is significantly more than in Maracas, Las Cuevas and Blanchisseres, and that has been our focal point.
Apart from the construction of the net repair facility, the project has resulted in a wider development of the village in an effort to enhance revenue earning capabilities and empowering of residents. Chief Executive Officer Reynald Baldew Singh explains how this will aid in sustainable development of Toco.
What the fisher folk needed at the time was immediate relief. And I must say that when we started, the project scale had been much less than what we completed. And therefore, we had lobbying from the fisher folk for an enhanced facility after we started. We had advice from the Fisheries Division to improve the specification, which we gladly welcomed that information. We had numerous phone calls and meetings with Ms. Joy Mapp Jobeti, present here from the Economic Development Board. And we were able to upgrade what we were building to ensure that as the Ministry of Planning continues to develop the coastal areas, what we build will fit into their program and will last and would contribute to the development of the area.
While the National Self-Help Commission aim is to empower people, Chairman of the Commission reminded the folks of their mission to the village as simply assisting them in self-sustenance.
The reality is that Matlock is blessed with fishing, hunting, and agriculture. That's certainly not poverty. In fact, any community can feed itself, does not have to depend on anybody. The community has and will continue to contribute to the productivity of this country. Our commission has provided the community with the requisite infrastructure, and we trust that having interacted with you for several months, that your honesty and commitment to hard work will continue, and that you will utilize the facilities as an avenue for continued economic growth.
Chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation and resident in the area, Terry Rondon, applauds the initiative and says the village now has some hope in seeing development in such a rural area.
I marvel when I went down on that beach to see what was taking place. Friends, at times it wasn't easy in Matlock here. It wasn't easy. And especially the only thing that brings a bread on the table is that fishing village. And when you see the condition and the runaround that you get for various ministries, for the people, you all see the road. I apologize for the road, but better days are coming. And when I see my people, who I love dearly, you know, in that condition, and I see self-help coming and help them. People in Orange, my prayers is with you all. You have done something to make me, someone who born and go in this village, very proud.
The Toko Matlock village is home to over 30 fishermen. Kimberly Calawan, News 4.
And that story brings us to the end of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.